We've got lantana. I guess we're using as an herb. It's a very aggressive plant. Will outcompete most annual weeds. Does a pretty good job beating out grasses. So it could be a really good selection for an understory for a plant, especially in recently disturbed soils where you know you're gonna have weed problems. We've got an Anaqua, sugarberry Anaqua. Birds love it. It's a huge wildlife food source plant. Sandpaper Anaqua is another name for it. The leaves are very coarse. They're like a really low grit sandpaper, and in fact, we can like take paint off of wood. They're really coarse. Yeah. Got another lantana right here. Got a fig in a bag.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
That's cool. Yeah, just another brown turkey fig. This is a good fig. It's a I don't know what the other variety was, but this is a big tree. So this guy will can be 30 by 30 foot. It's a big fig. So
Slice at the end, it's got a bushy spot, and you go back.
Yeah. I mean, you can prune it however you want. These guys are they don't have like we were talking about the peaches where they need a form. People don't really prune figs other than to be able to pick them. So they'll take some like the real low outward branches out so they can get to the kind of the center of the tree. Yeah, figs.
Strawberries?
Oh, yeah, strawberries, cool, right in time. Strawberries, everybody knows what strawberries are, right? I don't know what to tell you. It's a decent ground cover. The problems that you can have with it is it has a tendency to bite the dust in the summer. So it almost needs to be, because it's a cool season plant, so it grows between fall and when spring comes back around, it sets fruit, but then it quickly either goes dormant or crashes out completely. So I like to see these guys planted under somewhere where they can get summer shade and then winter sunlight. So peaches, elms, trees that have the tendency to drop their leaves quickly in the fall would be a good pairing or gilding plant with this guy. So you don't want to put it under something that holds its leaves late into the fall, and then yeah, you don't want to put it where it's going to get sun in the summer, or they will not be perennial. You'll be replanting them as annuals.
This is Stanley Plum.
Plum, yeah.
So that's it's a like prune plum.
Okay, cool. So drying plum.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this is plums are in the same family as peaches. You're gonna do kind of the same thing when you initially plant them, and that's to top them back to 18 to 24 inches to try to regain some sort of form. Some people don't prune at all, but you know they're such a soft fruit, and the wood is not the strongest thing in the world, so you can't exactly climb in them to pull fruit out. So I would strongly recommend cutting this guy back to maybe 24 inches. It's another olive. We have artichokes here, and the artichokes are like the strawberries. They're cool season growers in our climate, so it's another one that would do well with something that will keep the roots and the dormant plant shaded in the summer. They could be divided out, so you can clone them, and if you have a very productive one, it's something where you can just pull a side shoot off of and or sections of root off of and keep going.
You cut them back in the summer?
Yeah, you can, for sure. The leaves will dry out and it'll kind of collapse on itself, but you can cut it back. Depends on how tidy you like your garden, I guess. Pomegranate. Pomegranate's another one that's just super tough. Can take a lot of drought. It's a Mediterranean plant from the same soil type in a similar climate, so it's a perfect match for our area. Most people juice them. I like to eat eat them as whole fruit and kind of chew up the seeds and everything. Yeah, I guess it's good for you. I don't know. And then we have a mulberry. This guy's gonna grow real fast once you get it in the ground. I really like it as a windbreak hedge type tree. The ones that we have at thigh high that I planted like pencil size 2 years ago are 15 foot tall. They're super fast growing trees. This year they had 6 foot of growth on the stems, new growth. So I haven't got any fruit off of them, but there's we have a native mulberry that can be planted, and then there's improved varieties too of the red mulberry. So I don't know which mulberry this is, but
yeah, it's a red.
It's a red. So
how long does it normally take them to
I would just imagine the first few years. Yeah, huh?
Yeah, I have some in the other ones fruited in a pot.
Did they? Okay,
Yes.
cool. So
I mean, I got
a handful of fruit.
yeah, 4.
Would you prune them in any special way? Or?
No, a mulberry you walk up to and you do this,
Yeah.
and you pick them up off the ground. That's what the first question I had when I bought one too. But then somebody quickly explained to me how you harvest them, and yeah, you just grab the trunk. I mean, you can pick what you can from the ground, but it's such a fast-growing and vigorous tree. I think trying to control it through pruning would be difficult. You end up with some funny shaped tree. I'd rather just leave it on its main trunk. Got another artichoke, another olive. Here we go. This is a morpha. We don't have a lot of leguminous trees planted out here, which is, not bad or good. But this is a leguminous native tree that's somewhat woody. Can be herbaceous. If it's too cold, it'll freeze it down to the ground. But it's a pretty vigorous tree. It's got beautiful indigo black flowers. Bees and pollinators love it. It's got a ladybug on it right now. So it's one of my favorites. It stays low, maybe 5 or 6 foot tall. It's real easy to coppice and to control. It's not thorned at all. So for a hardy leguminous tree for our area, that's nice to have in the garden rather than a mesquite or a locust or a.
What was that one named?
It's an amorpha.
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 Thank you.
Fructosia or fructensis, I can't remember. But yeah, amorpha. And apple.
Granny Smith.
Yeah, Granny Smith apple. So apples are grown. This is a tree that you do try to control the form on. This late in the game, I would keep 4 of these lower branches, and with the apple you do kind of a scaffolding thing where it grows up a few feet. You scaffold out branches, which means you grow them out, and then you cut the tips to an outward facing bud to make the lower branches stay low and outward, kind of like the same idea as we were talking about with the peaches. But then you leave a central stem for a year, and you do the same thing where you'll pick one dominant branch. So anybody have any pruners on them?
You got loppers.
Oh, yeah, the loppers could work if they're sharp. So like on this guy, and you can see what I'm going to try to do is get them all. And then by outward facing bud, you can see the little merging stems that are coming out of the dormant branch. Literally find one that faces away from the central axis of the tree, top it. So this next dominant branch is going to be more horizontal than if I would have cut it with an upward facing or inward facing bud.
I've seen where they try to weight the branches. Like
Yeah,
that
you can
now.
do that too.
They weight it
Yeah,
so it
at
gets
Natural
flatter.
Garden, you'll see that. They have like lead weights on strings and stuff. It kind of seems like a hassle to work around to me.
Well, you only should have to do it a few weeks, I was told.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want it to get
Yeah,
flatter,
that's
you
a good
just-
idea. So
Just
put
weight them down with the
The fruit
string.
will weight it down too.
yeah for eventually, right? But yeah, that's a good idea. That's a great idea. I've seen it done before. I think most pruning advice comes from commercial nursery settings, so they're not going to walk around and put out hundreds of weights to have to go take back. You know what I mean? So it's just, if you have the time, you could go out there and do this every 5 minutes if you want to. Also, you know, yeah. A really good gardener told me one time that it only takes 15 minutes to take care of a garden. 15 minutes every 4 hours, 7 days a week. So
Now, which one do you choose?
I'm gonna do this guy because it has this, the one that I'm gonna pick as the next. So I'm gonna top this right here. I'm gonna choose the straighter one as my new dominant. And now these buds are gonna be my next scaffold. So this guy is gonna go. There you go.
Now, would you trim him up at all, or you just don't worry?
No, I let it
this
go.
year?
So me topping it here is going to force growth into these guys for the next scaffold, and then we'll end up having to do the same thing up here next year.
Right.
So it's going to produce another scaffold next year. So that's the idea. All right.
Yay.
Back to work. Haha.
Thank
Any
you,
questions,
Zach.
sir?
The reason I asked a lot of questions, I put in 60 fruit trees
Cool.
This is a
last February, and
Yeah.
I'm getting my first pruning.
Yeah, there you go, man. Yeah.
So